Hey folks, Hal Shurtleff with Camp Constitution, and I am here with my brother from another mother, Reverend Stevie Kraft. How you doing, Rev?
I'm blessed and highly favored here in Lexington on a Sunday, May 17th, 2020.
2020, yeah, we're right across from what I would consider hallowed ground where the blood of patriots was shed back in April 19th of 1775, and Rev is living just a few blocks away, so I actually just walked down here. And what we want to do is we want to pay tribute to this someone lesser known patriot, Prince Estabrook. And here in 2008, a marker was put in his honor, and I'll just read it. In honor of Prince Estabrook. Prince Estabrook was a slave who lived in Lexington at the dawn of April 19, 1775. He was one of the Lexington Minutemen awaiting the arrival of the British regulars at the Buckman Tavern, which is right here. And it's usually open for visitors. It's been locked down for a while. Hopefully it will be open soon. In the battle which followed, Prince Estabrook was wounded on Lexington Green. Through circumstances and destiny, he thus became the first black soldier to fight in the American Revolution. This monument is dedicated to the memory of Prince Estabrook and the thousands of other courageous black patriots long denied the recognition they deserve. And it's donated by the Alice Hinkle Memorial Fund. And Alice was a friend of my late friend Shirley Lane. She's the author of this book called Prince Estabrook, Slave and Soldier. Now, Prince was born at roughly 1741. He died in 1830. He ended up gaining his freedom after his service in the Continental Army, and he lived in central Massachusetts. He is buried in Ashby. You can actually visit his gravesite. It's a very modest gravesite, and it says on the gravesite, it said Prince Estabrook, Negro, the year he was born, the year he died, and that he served in Grayton's regiment. So and in those days, a lot of the people, a lot of the men who enlisted, they may have served a year, come out, went back in. In some cases, they came back to work the farm, harvest the crop, and then they go back in. And he served most of his time in New York, upstate New York. So Rev, the fact that he was a slave, but he gained his freedom, and he, by the way, was a slave while he was in the militia outfits carrying a weapon. So I just want your take, and I want you to show the book again here too, this nice little book which you can get on Amazon or any other places too. And by the way, the gentleman that you see in the picture is Charlie Price. Charlie is a resident of Lexington. He's originally from Boston's Roxbury. And for many, many years, at one time he was the leader of the Lexington Minutemen, which is a reenactment entity. And he every year he's on the Lexington Green for the reenactment. And true to the history, he's always injured. And now he's in his early 80s. And we didn't have the ceremony this year, the reenactment. Last year he wasn't there. So I know you've read some of the book. What are your thoughts on this man?
I have read some of it, and what you was just saying about him, I'm reading here that the black revolutionary soldier, listen to this, viewers, their major loyalty was not to a place nor a people, but their major loyalty was to a principle. And that principle was this, viewers. Whoever invoked the image of liberty, be he American or British, would be able to count on a ready response from the blacks, be they free or slave. And then it says, when the United States finally emerged from the revolution that had been shaped on a foundation of individual freedom and equality, the blacks in the North that were yearning for political liberty intertwined with efforts to achieve this social justice, and this by the early 1800s led to the policy for gradual abolition of slavery in all the northern states.
Well, I think we should point out too that Massachusetts was the first state to end slavery based on the Constitution of the state, which predates the U.S. Constitution by about 7 years. And in it, I said something to the effect, all men are born free and equal, and when a slave would go to the court, the judge would have to release him. So eventually, and there weren't, the slave population was relatively small. It wasn't a major part of the, like that in the southern states where the labor was a major part of its industry or its agriculture, its economy, I should say.
Yeah. Now that's exactly, Mr. Shurtleff, what it says here. It says now in the South it was a different story, because most of the economy in the South was tied to slave labor, and abolition threatened the plantations and the Southern way of life, whatever that was supposed to be. So fundamental clashes, and this is where the controversy came in, over slavery and property rights soon started unraveling the new baby nation, and it hardened into a distinction between the slave states and the free states. And that's where the Civil War, it says, and it took a painful civil war and nearly a century for the two sides to reconcile.
But let me pose a question to you as a Black American, and you used to say I've been black all my life, you know, and I say you did doing a very good job of it. Thank you. We say this humorously, but there are people like Colin Kaepernick who came out, I don't know, about a year ago, 2 years ago, and said that the Betsy Ross flag, the 13-star flag, is somehow a symbol of racism. Can you answer that question, or answer Colin?
Well, I
Mr.
can't
Collinbrook?
speak for him, but I'll speak for myself.
Right.
Like Prince Estabrook said in this book, well, he didn't say it, but this Hinkle who was writing on his history said, me as a black person, I stand on the principle of freedom, liberty, and justice for all, not for some. And when I take a person like Kaepernick, and I don't follow football, but when I take someone that has his mindset, he's looking at the negatives without realizing that the freedom and the liberty and the prosperity that he has accomplished in his life came from those principles of equality under the law, freedom, liberty, justice for all, and the right to pursue happiness. The man was a millionaire, and he didn't become a millionaire based on his ideology. I truly believe that a lot of the things that he did with this whole foolish idea of taking the knee, I take the knee, but I take the knee for my Lord and Savior
Amen.
Jesus
That's
Christ.
right. That's right.
I don't take a knee to showboat and floor show over an audience at a football game. So, in my opinion concerning him, I think it was more showboating. Because I don't really believe, Mr. Shurtleff and viewers watching this clip, I don't believe he really believes this stuff for a minute.
Well, when he said something about this 13-star flag being a symbol of racism, what he said to me was that the sacrifices, not only that my ancestors made, your ancestors, but people like Prince Estabrook, basically Prince was a fool.
That
for doing
in
what
his
he did.
mind, yeah. But that's not true.
In fact, every single black American that has ever served this nation, many have died, many have spent time in prisoner of war camps, many have lost arms and legs and crippled. Basically, they're all a bunch of idiots because they're working or serving in a horrible, evil, racist system.
Well, like I just said, I don't believe he really believes that. Because if he really believed that, then he would have to renounce everything that America has done for him.
You mean he'd have to give up his wealth?
He'd have to give it up all.
Would he have to move to Cuba?
Not only his wealth, he'd have to give up his freedom.
His freedom, interesting.
See, so I don't believe he believes that. I believe definitely he's been programmed and indoctrinated to say the communist narrative to bring the country like we see going on right now with this COVID-19 business.
That's right.
You know, it all ties together.
It all ties together.
That's why the rally that we did yesterday down in whatever the
Swampscott, Massachusetts.
Yeah. It made such a statement of people coming together and saying, look, we love our nation because this is the only nation on planet Earth that God has raised up to be a city, a shining light on a hill.
Sit on the hill.
Not based on ethnicity, not based on race, not based on culture, but where God reigns. And that's why we have to do everything, viewers, to win back our nation, because we're in a very dangerous place right now with these ideologies that want to tear us apart based on race, class, and gender.
So if you want to learn more about what we do here at Camp Constitution, our website is campconstitution.net. If you're watching this on YouTube, you already know where our YouTube channel is. We ask you to subscribe, but also check out our playlist. I have a Reverend Stevie Kraft playlist where about maybe 10 years of your presentations, maybe more, that we've sponsored, or at our summer camp, our annual family camp. We have great programs on the U.S. Constitution, on history. We actually have videotaped the reenactments for the last maybe 8 or 9 years, and they all have the same result when you watch them, but we do enjoy coming out here. And to learn more about us, again, visit our website, campconstitution.net. Thank you, Rev.
God bless you.